Welcome to the first Northern Road Link virtual open house. We will start things off by giving an overview presentation on the project and the environmental assessment terms of reference. I should note that this video will also be made available on the project website, that's northernroadlink.ca. As well, an OG Cree translation of this presentation will be made on the website and available on the website later this afternoon. During and after the presentation, please call or text us at 1-844-424-0500 with your comments or questions. We're going to play the presentation now, and we'll come back, and we look forward to your comments and questions. Thank you.
Okay, welcome to open house number 1 of the Northern Road Link project. This presentation is an overview of the project and the terms of reference. If you have any questions, you can submit them via email at info@northernroadlink.ca or call 1-888-515-3607. So for today's discussion, we will be covering the Chief's messages, the project overview and background, engagement and consultation, capacity opportunities, overview of the EA process, overview of proposed studies for the terms of reference, and the preliminary terms of reference schedule. So this slide is showing the Chief's messages. Chief Bruce from Martin Falls First Nation and Chief Cornelius from Webequie First Nation. You can read these also anytime on the Northern Road Link website. So the project background, Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation are the client of this project. They are both remote Indigenous communities not currently accessible by all-season road, and they are both committed to the sustainable development of their traditional territories. In 2018, Martin Falls started collecting information on past studies done on a road that could connect Martin Falls Community Access Road to the Ring of Fire. A few community level events were used to present this information and get feedback, and as a result, a number of route alternatives were developed and some historic alternatives were amended to account for community values. This background work became the starting point for the Northern Road Link project. And in March 2020, the province of Ontario, Martin Falls First Nation, and Webequie First Nation announced an agreement to work together. And this is how we have arrived at this point today. So this slide is just showing the project organizational chart. We have Webequie First Nation and Martin Falls First Nation, the chief and council, as well as all the community members. And we have 2 working group members from each community. At strategic level, we have the EA management team. We also have a technical level, which is SNC Lavalin and Dillon, and then an operational level. And all of these people work together to keep this project moving. So right now we have a preliminary study area. The proposed Northern Road Link is a multi-use road located between Martin Falls First Nation Community Access Road and the eastern end of the Webequie Supply Road. The Northern Road Link will connect the Ring of Fire mineral deposit area in the McFalds Lake area to the highway network via the Martin Falls Community Access Road. The Northern Road Link will include approximately 155-kilometer all-season gravel road, which will consist of a 60-meter cleared area and approximate 11-meter wide multi-use road, undivided lanes, shoulders, and ditches. Parts of the project will include many water crossings, including a large bird crossing of the Attawapiskat River. Ancillary structures will include borrow areas, aggregate sources, quarry sites, temporary access roads, and temporary work areas and construction camps. So for this project, some of the preliminary engineering considerations will include safety, the northern conditions, drainage, and the environment, constructability of the road, including costs and maintenance. Some of the preliminary design criteria that will be used will be depth and width of the road, design speed, and culvert sizes. Some of the engineering studies to determine this will include vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, as well as gravel sources for road construction. So this slide, which is slide number 10, will show you how the NRL interacts with the other projects. So on the right-hand side of the map, in purple, you can see the Martin Falls Community Access Road. And on the north side, in red, you see the Webequie Supply Road. And you see how the Northern Road Link connects with both projects and links them. Part of the project, a very large component of the project, is the engagement and consultation. A component of that project is developing a consultation and engagement plan, which we have prepared for the terms of reference, and a separate plan will be prepared for the environmental assessment. The purpose of the consultation engagement is to promote effective communication between the proponents, to identify concerns, identify relevant information, relevant guidelines, policies, and standards, to facilitate a list of required approvals, licenses, and permits, and to provide guidance to the proponent about the preparation of the terms of reference and the EA documents. Engagement and consultation objectives. The consultation efforts will provide opportunities for Indigenous people to be meaningfully engaged and share Indigenous knowledge so that we can incorporate this information into the environmental assessment. The Indigenous knowledge that has been shared may support the EA process as well as the EA studies. And the NRL project team and Martin Falls First Nation and Webequie First Nation are committed to conducting a comprehensive and meaningful consultation engagement process for the project. So the engagement and consultation principles on slide 13. Essentially, these activities will embrace the following general principles: be meaningful, transparent, inclusive and accessible, flexible, and collaborative. So the guiding principles that we will be following include a mutual recognition of inherent rights, a mutual recognition of ancestral knowledge, mutual recognition of traditional knowledge and practices, mutual recognition of clan families and relationships, recognition of sustainable livelihood, and traditional protocols. Slide 14 summarizes the three-tier approach that is being used for the engagement and consultation. The three tiers are closely connected and they depend on each other. The inner part of the core, the tiers is the core. And this is representing the communities of Martin Falls and Webequie First Nation and their overall well-being. Includes physical health, mental health, education, employment opportunities. The second layer is the relational tier. And this is basically recognizing culture, language, traditional activities, ancestral knowledge, and how everything interacts together. And the outside tier is called the foundational tier. And this is basically treaties and partnerships with other stakeholders in government and regulatory agencies. So slide 15 is another slide on engagement and consultation. And this is just summarizing how it will be delivered in alignment with the terms of reference consultation plan. During this part of the project, we have 2 rounds of open houses. And during these open houses, there will be opportunity to gather information from the project website, from newsletters, other future open houses, one-on-one meetings, community meetings, live streams, etc. Unfortunately, at this time, due to COVID-19, all of the community meetings will still be virtual until such a point that the communities are comfortable with team members coming into the community. Slide 16 is just a list of the project rights holders and stakeholders. It is a list of all of the communities that we will be engaging with throughout this whole process. Slide 17 shows other project stakeholders such as neighboring municipalities, various government agencies, as well as recreational and commercial stakeholders. Slide 18 is summarizing capacity opportunities. So on the left, we have sharing and use of Indigenous knowledge. So this is just summarizing the Indigenous knowledge and how we would like to go about collecting it. The communities will undertake an IK study with their own consultant with support of capacity funding, and then communities that would like the support of the NRL project team and those with relevant expertise affiliated with the project to help prepare and carry out an IK study plan with them. Community consultation coordinators will be identified to help facilitate this process and collect this information. Another way we have capacity opportunity is through field studies. When we're out in the field and doing our baseline work, we're always looking for volunteers to come along with our field teams, and that'll be carrying on into the field season of 2022. Slide 19 is starting the environmental assessment process. So the purpose of an EA is to support the planning and decision making to identify, predict, and evaluate the potential effects of a proposed project. It provides government and public bodies information to consider potential effects of the proposed project, and it includes a large component of engagement with rights holders and stakeholders to inform the process. So this project is going to be a combined provincial environmental assessment as well as a federal environmental assessment. We are starting first with the provincial environmental assessment project. The very first phase of that plan, which is the planning phase, is the terms of reference, which we are currently drafting. And this first open house is one of the first opportunities to provide comment on this process. So just to explain the terms of reference, it's actually a large document that is our work plan for the environmental assessment. It describes what's going to be done in the environmental assessment so that we can identify impacts of the project. And that'll include natural, cultural, social, and economic impacts, and we can prepare appropriate mitigation measures. Your comments on this document are really important because they help determine what will be included in the terms of reference and what will be included in the study so that we know what is most important to you so that we can make sure that that information is getting collected. So this is just a slide, number 23, showing the provincial terms of reference process. The main part of the slide that's important to take note of are the points where these little yellow people are, and those are the areas or the parts of the process where your input is required, where you have a chance to actually provide your comments. So the first phase was during the notice of commencement, which was published in May. And when the draft terms of reference is posted, you will have a chance to comment then. And the same thing when we have the final terms of reference submitted, which will be spring, summer of 2022. The draft terms of reference will be later this fall, early this winter. So on slide 24, this shows the federal process, the flow chart. The federal process doesn't actually start until we have approval of the terms of reference, which is the provincial process. And part of the way in which the federal process differs from the provincial is that we don't actually submit a terms of reference for the federal government. They more or less submit that for us, and that's called the Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines. And they issue those after we've provided them an initial project description for comment, and then we submit the detailed project description as a final deliverable, and then the federal government issues the guidelines of how they want us to go forward with the project. Some of the deliverables in the federal EA process include study plans. So for each of the valued components where we will be doing field work, and these are on the right, and they include things like noise, geology, terrain and soils, wildlife, birds. We prepare study plans to explain how we're going to conduct our field work, how we're going to conduct the impact assessment, and give a summary of mitigation measures within those study plans also. Within this process, we submit an initial project description. So that is kind of like the terms of reference. It's a summary of the terms of reference. And then once that is approved, then we submit the detailed project description to the feds. And then, as I described a couple slides ago, the federal government then issues the tailored impact statement guidelines, which is sort of like the terms of reference. Part of the study is all of our baseline studies. That's how we identify what the condition is of the environment right now, and it gives us something to compare to when we're looking at potential impacts of the project. So the following slides will provide an overview of some of the baseline studies that we are planning to conduct. In addition to the baseline studies, this is where we will incorporate Indigenous knowledge. So if you look at the little schematic on the right-hand side, and you see at the bottom with the little basket that shows baseline conditions. So this is the information that we've gathered out in the field. And for this example, we are using fish and fish habitat. So we've gone out and collected our information, and then we're going to be taking the Indigenous knowledge that we've collected from communities, and it could include fishing sites, spawning locations, cultural values and teachings, fish abundance information, and anything else related, such as fish health, for example. And we take this Indigenous knowledge and mix it together with the baseline information that our field teams have collected in the field, and we mash it together as best we can, because they both support one another, and this is how we come up with our baseline studies. And this applies to all of the study plans that I mentioned in the slides previously. So we'll do the same thing for birds, for wildlife, for species at risk, for terrain and soils, archaeology, socioeconomics, etc. So again, Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous land and resource use. There's many ways to use it within the EA, such as capturing a variety of voices, ideas, and concerns in project planning. It will increase our understanding of the existing environmental conditions within the study area. It's very important because we can only collect what we can, but it's really important to get information from the communities to support the information that we've been collecting. It'll identify culturally important species and sites. It'll help us locate important habitat areas, perhaps areas that we aren't aware of because we don't live there. It'll increase our understanding of the health and abundance of any specific species. It'll especially help us with route planning by pointing out areas to avoid. Culturally significant sites, or somebody's trap line, or this is our favorite fishing spot, or this is where we like to hunt moose. And this is the kind of information we're looking at, so that when we're figuring out where to put the route, so we can help guide it. Some of the physical environment studies will include greenhouse gas and emissions, air quality, noise, geology, terrain and soils, groundwater, surface water, as well as a visual assessment. The biological environmental studies include wildlife, breeding birds, waterfowl surveys, fish community and fish habitat, and vegetation. The socioeconomic studies include population, housing, infrastructure and services, employment and economy, as well as community well-being. Other studies that are going to be conducted, including archaeological. At this point, it'll just be a stage 1 assessment, which is usually just a desktop. A human health assessment, and cultural continuity and well-being study. So back to the terms of reference schedule. So in the spring of 2021, we submitted the notice of commencement of the terms of reference. We've been preparing the draft terms of reference and the project introduction. Continuing in this fall and winter, we have open house number 1. We will be submitting the draft terms of reference as well as a record of consultation, which will also include a notice of draft terms of reference for review. This is one of the stages that I was talking about earlier, where you will have a chance to comment. And then in the spring and summer of 2022, we'll be producing the final terms of reference. There'll be an open house number 2, another record of consultation, as well as another point in time for you to participate through providing comments. That is the end of our our presentation. If you could please complete the survey, it is available on the website. And if you need more information, you can send an email to info@northernroadlink.ca. You can check out the website at northernroadlink.com, or you can call anytime the 1-800 number at 1-888-515-3607.
Hi, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'd just like to introduce our panel for who are our subject matter experts who will be answering your questions and addressing your comments. First up, we have Mr. Qasim Sadiq, who is the project co-lead for the Northern Road Link project. Next is Mr. Michael Fox, another project co-lead for the Northern Road Link project. And then finally, at the far end is Ange Brooks, who is the project manager for S&C Lavalin. Welcome, everyone. So, we hope we've received some questions. I'll check and see what we've gotten here. Any questions come in from the team? Okay. No questions, Tony? Maybe you, Qasim, want to talk a little bit about, what the intent of the open house. Maybe you and Michael can talk a bit about the intent of the open house and what we're trying to achieve from this.
Yeah, absolutely, Don. Thank you so much. Well, the intent of today really is to start this collaborative process of engaging, consulting, and discussing the project with neighboring Indigenous communities around the project, but also with the public, with general stakeholders. We're hoping to have a good discussion with everyone that comes in today to review the project, to see what it looks like, to discuss what our preliminary plan is, to get their input and feedback. And reflect that into our draft terms of reference document that we're planning on releasing later on this fall. So I don't know, Michael, if you want to add something to that, maybe?
I think the key thing you said was preliminary, and we're very open to comments, inputs, insights to the study area, and the study area can change, and it has changed, and we hope that you can check out our website, northernroadlink.com, or follow us on the social media for ongoing updates and information and maps and engagement opportunities going forward. This is just a beginning. I think that's very key to today and going forward, that there will be many opportunities to review this project with us, to discuss it, and any concerns or inquiries you have about it or information requests, we're here to respond. There's a large team, not just us here, but with S&C, Dylan, and team members behind Qasim and I, all ready to help out with this process for the Northern Road Link. We also think using the Wawate radio as well, on at least minimum a monthly basis, if not a bi-weekly basis, to engage the remote communities. This project is located in a very unique area in Northern Ontario. It's surrounded by Indigenous communities and used by Indigenous communities, and we're using all means of communication to ensure that that there's an awareness campaign around it, also opportunities for questions and answers.
Thank you, Mike. We have 3 questions now from Richard. So the first question is, who is owning the road?
Would you like to take this one? Sure.
Yeah. So the first part of the response is that, the project proponent or the owner of the environmental assessment process at this stage are the 2 communities of Martin Falls and Webequay. And that's the stage we're at this point, which is we're conducting an environmental assessment, and based on the information we get, at some point the communities, and of course the decision of the provincial and the federal regulators, the communities will decide what next steps need to be taken. And I think that is when the decision around the ownership of the actual road itself will come about. Right now, there's no decision around that.
Thank you, Qasim. And as a follow-up question, which is very closely related to the first question, the question is, how will the road be financed?
Yeah. Michael, you want to speak to that?
That's a very common question at this point in time. Part of the study we're doing is not just an environmental assessment, we're actually doing preliminary engineering. And as part of any major undertaking, you have to do preliminary engineering to understand the specifications for, particularly in the road, in order to figure out the costing. So the costing is, the preliminary costing is actually the first step in the financial modeling in the future. So that's where we are now, is in the beginning of that preliminary engineering, and that discussion around financing or financial modeling, it will be answered in the future as this process unfolds.
Thank you, Mike. And we do have one other question from Richard, and that question is probably for Ange, I think, and it's, are you doing more information sessions in the future? Ange?
Okay, so yes, short answer.
Thank you for coming.
But it's more than just the information session. Like we're again, I mentioned the radio. We're doing radio shows on Wawate, given the geographical location of this project. We're hoping to do at least once a month or twice a month for the Northern Road Link. We're doing this for other projects through the Wawate broadcasting. We're also going to do some translated sessions around that in Cree and OG Cree. I know with COVID lifting, with restrictions lifting a bit, we couldn't do this before because we couldn't get into the studios. So with the possibility of the studios opening up through Wawate Radio, we'll have some live broadcasting with interpretations around that. Live streaming events are being planned. We had one as we rolled this out about a month ago. The social media engagement we have is another channel for those on social media. You can follow us on Northern NRL link. Oh my God, I forgot it. That's the NR link. Yes, NR link. Thank you. Okay, we'll get back to you on that. Open houses for sure we'll do, but more importantly, we're open for either face-to-face meetings with Indigenous communities. We're open to different type of formats, whether that's with the Chief and Council, or whether that's through focus groups or through community information sessions, but also virtually. We have a range of options for virtual engagement. It could be just as basic as sending you guys the presentation through a fax machine and then doing it over the phone like the old days, or do something a bit more sophisticated with those that have the bandwidth through Zoom or another platforms like that. So again, we have a team that's just ready to share and to engage and to discuss this project at great lengths and in great detail.
Thank you, Michael. And I just wanted to reiterate that the video that we played and narrated in English earlier will be available in OG Cree later this afternoon on our website. So look for that. It's really important that we involve as many community members as possible. So that video will be ready probably later this afternoon, I would say. So we will be doing the same session tomorrow at the same time, 12 noon. So look for us tomorrow. Think of your questions. If you haven't thought of any right now, you can think of some questions to ask us or comments, and you can text us or send them to us at the number 1-844-424-0500. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully you tune in tomorrow for another session and have some questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.